Episode 4 Sharjah, Ajman, Fujairah, Quwain. Four Emirates, four very different stories. None of them are Dubai, and that's exactly why they're worth understanding. Before we go into each market, here's the key point. These four Emirates are not competing with Dubai. They sit at different points on the risk, return, and liquidity spectrum. Sharjah is not Ajman, Fujairah is not Quwain. And the right question is not which one is better, it is which one, if any, actually fits your capital. Sharjah, the first thing to understand is that most people in Sharjah are not investors in the traditional sense. They are residents who own their home or landlords serving residents who can't afford to buy. And that's not a criticism, that is the market's function. The yield at just over 4% tells you something important. The demand here is end-user driven, not investor driven. Rents are benchmarked to what working families can afford, not what institutional capitals expects. What Sharjah does offer is transaction volumes. Over 33,000 deals in 2025. That's real market depth. You can buy and sell here. The question is whether the return justifies the capital when you have alternatives. For a commuter household or a long-term residence, it often does. For a pure return investors, the number needs to be looked at honestly. Ajman, here's the question most sophisticated investors ask when they first see this number. If the yield is genuinely 7 to 8% at the lowest entry point in the UAE, why isn't everyone's here? The answer is twofold. First, infrastructure. Ajman doesn't have Dubai's transport links, lifestyle infrastructure, or tenant pool. The yield is partly a compensation for that. You are getting paid more because holding a quality tenant long term requires more effort. Second, exit. The transaction volume here is a fraction of Dubai's. If you need to sell, you are negotiating with a small buyer pool. That limits your options in ways that don't show up in the gross yield calculation. But here's what's also true. If you are a patient investor, you understand buy to let fundamentals, and you can hold for 7 or more years. Ajman's income return is genuinely one of the strongest in the region. The market just doesn't suit everyone who's attracted to this. Fujairah, I want to be straight with you on this one. The investment data here is limited. We simply do not have the same depth of transaction records as Dubai or even Sharjah. What we can say is this. Fujairah offers something genuinely different. Mountains behind you, ocean in front, zero crowds, and a pace of life that none of the other Emirates can replicate. And its mid-low price point reflects exactly how early stage this market still is. If you are buying for lifestyle, either to live here yourself or to attract a very specific type of eco-tourism tenants, this is a real case to be made. But if you are buying purely for financial return and you need concrete data to back up your capital allocation, this market is simply not ready to give you that yet. Watch it and don't rush it. On Queen, this remains one of the most frontier markets in the UAE. But unlike a few years ago, a clearer investment story is beginning to emerge. Government-backed development initiatives, together with projects like Soba Sandia Island, are starting to attract attention from investors looking beyond Dubai and Ras Al Khaimah. And the attraction is easy to understand. Some investors see UAQ as a lower-cost version of the Ras Al Khaimah growth story, a similar geographic proposition but at a significantly lower entry price. The challenge is that the market remains very early. Transaction data is limited. The secondary market is still developing, and many of the assumptions being made today have not yet been tested through a full market cycle. That doesn't mean the thesis is wrong. It simply means investors are working with more uncertainty than evidence. For investors with a long time horizon and a small allocation transition to higher risk opportunities, Queen may be worth watching. For everyone else, patience may still be the most valuable asset. Here is the side-by-side. Look at pattern, not the individual cells. Ajman's give you the highest yield, but drop to 3-star on liquidity. Sharjah gives you the stronger liquidity at 4-star, but brings the lowest headline yield of the four. Fujairah and Quwain sit at the bottom on both liquidity and growth evidence, but they also offer the lowest entry points in the country. There is no market here that dominates across all four dimensions. This is not a coincidence. This is exactly how markets work. The trade-offs are the entire point. The question isn't which market is best. It is which trade-off you are willing to make and whether your investment horizon, liquidity needs, and risk tolerance actually match the market you are considering. The take. None of these four markets are trying to be Dubai, and comparing them to Dubai is completely the wrong lens. Sharjah serves the commuter resident market. Ajman serves the income investor who is willing to manage thin exit liquidity. Fujairah serves the patient lifestyle buyer, and Queen serves the speculators with a very small, ultra long-term position. Each of those is a perfectly legitimate investment object. What isn't legitimate is buying into any of these markets simply because the headline yields looks good, without understanding liquidity constraints, the true nature of the tenant pool, and your own exit timeline. Know the market, know yourself, then decide. This is phase one of this series done. 7 Emirates, 7 entirely different market logics. In Season 1, we focus on understanding the Emirates. In Season 2, we turn our attention to the outcomes. And Episode 5 is where things get much more interesting. Liquidity matters. From Dubai to Abu Dhabi to Ras Al Khaimah. What actually happens when you want your money back? Which market lets you exit with ease? Which markets ask for patience? And which markets may leave you waiting? Next episode, liquidity matters. Follow the numbers. Don't forget to subscribe and like for Decoded.